Oh man. What's up, doodaloo dudes? Doodarinos? Doodaloos? Just got back from work. As I was driving home, I saw some more stuff happening that, definitely know you guys would probably want me to talk about. So I figured let's not waste any time, because I do want to, be watching new Fallout and stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to check into the stream. But that doesn't matter right now. Sorry, I don't want to take, I don't want to take time from the actual slaves. I mean, my bad. I don't know why sorry, I just had a really stressful day at work today, dude. Not slaves. Well, actually, technically, they would be slaves, because right now they're essentially enslaved to the fact that they have to live by these ideals and like by this regime, and if they don't, they'll literally die. So I mean, in a way, they kind of are enslaved. You already know probably who we're going to be going in about, so let's just get right into it.
Iran is preparing for a world without the supreme leader. As the US military buildup in the Middle East reaches a tipping point, Tehran has activated Plan B, a strategy to keep the government running even if the leadership is decapitated in a strike. That's why some inside the government are now talking about a Napoleon Bonaparte option. They want to replace the 85-year-old supreme leader with a military strongman to avoid a total collapse.
Oh my god, it's like these people don't, it's like oh man, dude. Who is suggesting this? Do not learn your lesson? I don't get it. Do you not learn from your mistakes? Like, what's going on? What's going on?
Now, they're discussing all this while they're negotiating with the United States, but their actions show that they don't think the talks will succeed, and that's why they're preparing for war. Take a listen.
Tension remains high across the Middle East as the United States and Iran continue to exchange words about the possibility of war. The U.S. Air Force announced new drills this week in the Middle East as the region waits to see what comes next. More military assets continue to flow to regional countries like Jordan and Qatar. A U.S. official tells Fox News the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier strike group has now entered CENTCOM waters, but is not yet considered on station. With the buildup ongoing, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said this about his country's capabilities should war erupt.
We possess extraordinary defense capabilities. We're far more prepared than before. It is our duty and responsibility to defend Iran's pride, sovereignty, and territorial integrity.
Iranian civilians are also reacting to the possibility of another direct conflict with the United States and Israel. Last summer, people in the Iranian capital saw 12 straight days of war.
As for sending ships for a possible war, I personally think it was because of their own sense of danger, because Iran has always said that it will bomb their American interest in the Middle East. And I myself, as a citizen, do not say that I agree or disagree with anything, but I believe it is with our right to defend ourselves.
Oh, 100%.
Now, because of this, it seems...
That's just, like, in my opinion, that should just be any nations, anywhere you live, anywhere you go, that should just be like the fundamental law. Like, you have the right to defend yourself. You should not be anywhere in the world. How do I even put this so it doesn't even, like, oh my god, like, there's no way that I can say this so it doesn't sound fucking retarded, dude, because, like, the fact that these places exist, like, why do these places exist where you're not allowed to defend yourself? Why does the government just expect you to literally allow yourself to get killed? To just sit there and literally just take it. What? Hell no. Everybody should have the fundamental right to protect themselves, to defend themselves. You should not be required to just sit there, lay down, and die because somebody wants you to. Like, what? Their life is not more important than yours. Everybody's life is equally as important. This is such a stupid argument.
Iran isn't just preparing for war, they are succession planning. The Financial Times is reporting that Iran's president has begun implementing emergency measures. These measures are designed to keep the government running if there's a decapitation strike. Here's what this looks like in practice. Iran has roughly 31 provinces. Provinces are similar to states here in the United States. And now the Iranian president has given these province governors unprecedented authority. These governors can now pursue their own international trade policies. They can import
I don't know. I kind of like the name state better though. You know, like whatever they call it. I don't know. It's just whoa. Oh, I just touched. There we go. It just doesn't sound as cool, you know?
keep the government running if there's a decapitation strike. Here's what this looks like in practice. Iran has roughly 31 provinces. Provinces are
yeah.
similar to states here
Like a province sounds so lame compared to a state. Like a state just sounds so much more cooler.
in the United States. And now the Iranian president has given these province governors unprecedented authority. These governors can now pursue their own international trade policies. They can import goods directly from neighboring countries. They can barter, negotiate, and stockpile supplies, all without any permission from Tehran. Think about what that means. Each province can now function almost like an independent country. If the capital gets hit, if the central government collapses, the provinces can keep operating on their own. This isn't normal emergency planning. This is a regime that believes a massive strike is coming and is building redundancy into the system so it can survive without its head. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some people inside the regime aren't just preparing for Khamenei to be killed. They are discussing pushing him out altogether. You see, Khamenei is 85 years old. The regime right now is under enormous pressure from inside and outside. The economy is collapsing, the military is really weak, and the people just rose up in the largest protest since 1979. That's why some regime insiders see the math clearly. Khamenei is a liability. If they sacrifice
100%.
him, let him step aside, or quietly remove him, they might be able to save the system and avoid a total collapse.
To quietly
this
remove
isn't
him.
just speculation. People from the
That's
Iranian
crazy,
regime are
dude.
saying this publicly. Just recently,
Oh,
an
man.
economist who works for the Islamic Republic urged the Ayatollah to step aside in favor of a Bonaparte-type figure, Napoleon Bonaparte that is. He wants someone who can stabilize the country through strength. He even named a candidate, the parliamentary speaker and former IRGC commander. He's a strong man who can control the military and someone who could let Khamenei go while keeping the system intact. This way, a supreme leader becomes the sacrifice, but the system survives. It will have a different face at the top, but it will be the same machine. Now, most people think that if Khamenei is gone, it means Iran becomes a democracy. But the reality is way more complicated and way darker. Now, some of our Iran videos are getting demonetized and restricted. And when
Why?
a video is restricted, that means it's
hate when
not
they do
shown on
that.
the homepage for a lot of people. So if you can please help us in the algorithm by hitting the subscribe button down below, it just helps us reach more people. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to why the regime change might not change anything. Now, there are a lot of people inside the US government and outside warning that even if US carries out a decapitation strike, it might not achieve the regime change it wants. Here's one perspective. Take a listen.
Important point to be made here by attacking Revolutionary Guard or besieging militia targets, but I think the president also needs to think long term. One strike isn't going to bring the regime down. If he is committed to regime change, as he has now said, you need to think in a more programmatic, strategic way.
By programmatic strategic, you seem to mean what will replace the regime. That's often been the refrain from those who have urged not having any action in Iran, which seems, at least for the time you and I have known each other, totally different than your previous thoughts.
Well, I think programmatic in the sense, since one strike won't bring the regime down, you have to think of what multiple strikes might do to degrade the regime's ability to cause problems in the nuclear field and the terrorism.
Problems. That's it? That's what they're calling it, a problem? Dude, this isn't a problem, bro. This is like they're murdering people. What? What are we going on about? What? Oh, man.
Field, but also
I just
to
love how they word
reduce
things,
its
man.
power to repress its own people. It is the case the regime is not well organized. On the other hand, it's very hard to think of anything worse that could replace the present regime.
Now, here's the reality. Iran has 92 million people. Even if only 10% support the
people.
regime, that's still 9 million people. Millions of Iranians have a vested interest in the system surviving. The IRGC isn't just a military force, it's a business empire. They control construction, telecommunication, oil, banking, and much more. There are people who are profiting from those networks who aren't going to walk away just because the Ayatollah is gone. This is why many Iran watchers are skeptical that democracy will follow, even if the current regime falls. What's more likely is a system resembling Pakistan. Think about it. In Pakistan, civilian institutions exist on paper, but the real power is concentrated in military and intelligence services. Security forces, intelligence apparatus, economic networks, all operating outside public accountability. That's what the IRGC is positioning itself for. They don't need Khamenei. They need the system, and they're perfectly willing to trade the old man for their own survival.
I mean, yeah, they're willing to
Now,
kill their own
all
people.
of this
What kind
is
of question
happening
is that?
while the economy is completely imploding for the ordinary Iranian citizen. According to Iran's official statistics agency, inflation in January hit 60%. That's the highest official inflation rate in the history of the Islamic Republic. 60%, meaning prices are doubling in just a year, savings evaporating, and the
That's
currency
crazy,
becoming worthless.
dude.
But despite all this, the central bank keeps on printing more and more money. Why? Well, because if they don't print money, the entire banking system collapses.
We'll just fall. Yeah.
Iranian
I was about to
banks
say.
are begging the central bank for emergency loans almost every single week. They're asking for billions of dollars just to stay afloat. And that's why the central bank has to approve what they're asking for. Even if they don't approve the whole thing, they're still giving billions of dollars in new loans. And where is that money
Yeah,
coming
so
from?
they don't even have to
The
ask.
printing
They're just
press.
being told
More
to give it to
printed
them.
money means more inflation. More inflation means more economic pain. It's a death spiral with no exit. Here's just one testimony from a young Iranian. A young, highly educated professional says, almost everyone is convinced that we are not going back to the way things were before the protest. The country feels like it's on autopilot. No one is at the wheel. You can't work, there's
It's
no
on
income,
autopilot.
people are waiting for something big to happen, for real change to come. Controlling the population no longer works. Even many who hold foreign passports and could leave the country have chosen to stay because they want to be part of whatever transformation that may come. Now, despite all this, it seems like Iran has not given up on their military rhetoric. We just had reports that there were some explosions heard at Iranian nuclear facility. Later, we found out that the Iranian regime is still carrying out missile tests, and the explosions could be from the missile that the regime is testing. On top of this, they're also putting out AI-generated videos showing Iranian missiles and Iranian drones destroying American aircraft carrier. Now, this is where it's important to remember that Iranians are just great with AI. Last time, they had some hits during the 12-day war that no one could replicate. Take a listen to this coverage we did just last year. Here we go again. Iranian accounts are again posting this fake image saying that they took down a B-2 bomber that conducted the strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. In reality, this is just not true. You see, B-2 bombers fly at 50,000 feet. If they fall to the ground, the bomber is not going to remain intact how it is in the picture. On top of it, it's very, very heavy. So if something falls down, it's not just going to sit on the ground like this. This is clearly AI. The funniest part of all this is someone under the post
Yeah, there's been a
asked,
lot
"Is
of
this
that. People
true?"
just
And
making
the
up
AI account
crap.
goes, "Yes,
I've seen
it's
some
true."
posts from like Arma
For
3.
more.
Shit's crazy. Alright, let's quickly hop into the next one. Alright, actually, I think that was it for this, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think that was it. I mean, whatever. How long is this video? 14 minutes, pretty short. Alright, whatever. Let's just do this, dude. Let's just do a combination.
得到14亿多
But yeah, before we go into this one, honestly, you guys are making a lot of progress right now in Iran. Like, you know, you guys got this guy right by the neck, dude. You're literally right there. Like, if you could just squeeze one more time, it's clipped, though. It's literally clipped, though. You guys just gotta keep fighting, man. Like, I believe in you guys. I definitely believe if you if you guys really want this, you guys will be free. You know.
祖国人民，这样的好制度没有任何理由改。
August 24th, 1967. communist-backed unions in Hong Kong poured petrol on Lam Bun and burned him alive in broad daylight. Lam was a radio host, and he criticized the riots that the communists caused. These riots killed 51 and injured 848 people. But this didn't age well for the communists. British authorities struck back with a cold move. They forced communist groups to register, driving all of them underground. Everyone registered except for one. The same group today has butchered democracy in Hong Kong, and its two laws are forcing the city to dance to its commands. Unofficially, people call it Democracy Killer. Officially, it's called Chinese Communist Party, the CCP.
The CCP.
Now, CCP bots will try to bury this video like every other one that exposes them. Except when you hit that like button and flip the algorithm against them. Thank you. For over half a century, British-ruled Hong Kong served as a refuge for mainland Chinese fleeing communist rule. But they all feared collectivization was coming for them. Between 1952 and 1965 alone, at least 1.5 million people sought refuge in Hong Kong from the party. But even during colonial times, the communists were never really far away from Hong Kong. Communist supporters played roles in the mass strikes of 1922 and 1925. These strikes are something history remembers. But some moments aren't just recorded, they are carved into memory with blood, like the one in 1967. That year, agitators from communist-backed labor unions instigated riots. 51 people died, 848 were injured. After that violence, colonial authorities forced communist groups to register with the government, driving all of them underground, except for one, that is, the CCP. It looks like the CCP outsmarted the British, but in reality it was an informal agreement that never appeared on paper. The CCP was never forced to register in Hong Kong because it created an impossible situation that nobody wanted to deal with. Asking them to register would mean Beijing had to submit to British law, which contradicted China's claim that Hong Kong was their territory. The British pushing this issue risked exposing the sovereignty dispute and destabilizing Hong Kong. Hong Kong was way too valuable to mess with anyway. It was China's crucial window into the world for trade, intelligence, and operations, especially before they even had a UN seat. Now, the CCP never applied for registration, so there was nothing to officially reject, and pushing the issue would have forced the whole sovereignty question into the open, which would have destabilized everything. Unlike smaller communist groups that registered openly and got banned after the 1967 riots, the CCP operated underground, through fronts like Shenhua and Bank of China, never exposing themselves directly. Basically, both Britain and China benefited from pretending the issue didn't exist. Britain kept Hong Kong stable and profitable. China kept their strategic outpost running, and as one observer noted, both sides were happy to keep a veil drawn over the whole thing until the handover in 1997.
Oh, bro.
But that handover came with one condition. China promised one country, two systems, granting...
So that's why I don't trust China, Chuck, because they be promising this, they be promising that, you know, they'll promise you like a couple extra inches on your hogger, and then, you know, next thing you know, they took your whole schmeat.
The city its own laws and courts. And China did keep its word. Hong Kong had its own local council called LegCo. Some members were elected directly by regular citizens, but other members represented specific job sectors and professional groups. Was it fair? Not really. These job sector representatives were mostly pro-Beijing, but the pro-democracy side still had a voice through direct elections. And they used it to fight back and keep pressure on the government. On paper, Hong Kong was a full-fledged democracy, but Beijing always held the strings. Seems unfair, but at least that small democratic space still existed, and it was used to fight back against the CCP, at least until 2019. In 2019, the CCP wanted to pass a new law that would let them send people from Hong Kong to mainland China for trial. People were terrified, millions flooded the streets in protest, and this became the biggest uprising Beijing had ever seen in Hong Kong. What started as
2019, dude,
quickly grew into something bigger. People wanted real democracy. They wanted the police held accountable for how they treated protesters. The anger didn't fade. It turned into revenge, but with guns and violence. In November of 2019, local elections took place, and pro-democracy candidates won big. They took nearly 90% of the seats. This proved that most people in Hong Kong wanted democracy. But Beijing saw this as a threat. 6 months later, on June 30th, 2020, they struck back. Beijing completely ignored Hong Kong's local government and forced through the National Security Law. This law made 4 things illegal: trying to break away from China, opposing the government, terrorism, and working with foreign countries. But the definitions were deliberately vague, because almost anything could be considered a crime. No specific definition was mentioned. Beijing created a whole new security system that sits above Hong Kong's government. They set up a special committee that no court can question. They opened an office run by mainland officials who answer only to Beijing. And they gave Hong Kong police huge new power. They can search your home without permission from a judge.
Oh, hell no, dude. See, this is what I mean, chat. This is what I mean, dude. All these people complaining and shit. You know, saying, this is like a Nazi Gestapo, this and that. This is like communist, blah, 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 blah. Dude, you do not know none of this shit, bro.
Facts. None of this
You
shit,
do
nigga.
not know none of that shit, bro. Because if you did, dude, you would not be saying that, dude. Because you do not have random CCP officers just entering your crib because they want to, dude. No warrant, no nothing. They don't need it, dude. They could just walk in there. If they wanted to, they could fandoozle your wife, just slap her titties up and down and walk out.
Oh, he going crazy.
They can
Like,
freeze
bro.
your bank account.
Yep,
whenever they
freeze
want.
your bank account,
No
bro.
approval
Like,
needed.
you want to go to fucking McDick's, dude? You want to get you want to get a fucking a McDouble from McDick's? It's Clipto. You can now because the CCP froze your account.
Dick and
From
double. That's
But
crazy.
the final
Dick
nail in
and
the
double,
coffin
nigga.
was
That's what we
hammered
doing.
in 2021.
We're doing dicks and doubles.
After the national security law in 2020, Beijing went straight for the electoral system itself. In March 11th, 2011, the National People's Congress passed something called the Patriots Governing Hong Kong Resolution. Basically,
Well,
it let
I said we
Beijing
doing dicks
rewrite Hong
double
Kong's
time.
basic law
Double
however
the
they
dicks,
wanted.
nigga.
3 weeks later, on March
Nigga,
30th, the
crazy.
PCC's
Oh,
Standing
yeah.
Committee approved it. And boom, it became a new law in Hong Kong. In fact, China wasn't
He
even
said every
trying
day
to
we're gonna
hide
wake
it.
up, we're
They
gonna
said
do a
flat
dick.
out only patriotic
Wake up,
people
do
could
another
run
dick.
for office. Emily Lau,
You
a
ain't doing
former
dick, you're doing it
pro-democracy
wrong. Double
lawmaker,
down on the
didn't hold
dicks.
back. She told AFP, this whole new system is really degrading and very oppressive. She thought it could spark more
Yes,
unrest in the
sir.
streets. Opposition figures knew exactly what was happening. Beijing was locking them out of parliament completely. Let me walk you through how this new system actually works. They took the election committee and expanded it from 1,200 members to 1,500. This committee is packed with
Oh, that's
pro-Beijing
much
people.
better.
Earlier, it only picked Hong Kong's top leader, the chief executive. Now, it controls way more. Every candidate, whether you're running for parliament, trying to join the election committee, or running for chief executive, you have to get approved by a screening committee first. Guess what? If they think you're critical of Beijing, you're out. Simple as that. The 2020 National Security Law and the 2024 Article 23 Law gave Beijing the power to silence anyone who opposed them. But if you look at what happened to the parliament,
You see,
let
chat,
go when-
that's a real communist dictatorship, dude. This is what happened. Like, bro, can you imagine that, bro? Oh, hell no. Hell no.
What?
Like, oh, man, dude.
the power to silence anyone who opposed
Like, these motherfuckers, literally, like, if you just oppose them, like, not even if you do anything, if you just have a different point of view, like these liberals running around here, if you literally have a different point of view, it's Clipto. You'll literally get locked away, dude. You get sent to the gulag. Like, actually. Like these fucking liberals that be running around. Oh, show me your ID. Show you're not ICE. Or prove to me that you're not ICE. Prove to me some random guy asking you to prove to me that you're not ICE. I have no actual legal authority or anything. I'm demanding to see that you're not ICE. Verification that you're not ICE, just so I can feel better about myself. Like, what the fuck, bro? Oh
But if you
my
look at what
God.
happened to the parliament, Legco went from 70 seats to 90. Sounds
That's
about right.
crazy,
Wrong.
dude.
The directly elected seats, the ones regular people vote for, dropped from 35 to 20. They cut it almost in half. So where are those other 70 seats coming from? 40 get picked by the election committee, the pro-Beijing one. Another 30 comes from functional constituencies.
Not really fair at all.
Business people, bankers, trade organizations. And historically, these groups backed Beijing. Basically, more seats, but less choice. While all of this was taking place, pro-Beijing supporters threw a party. But on the other side, the pro-democracy camp knew their political future just got crushed, even though voters clearly supported them. And remember, this didn't come out of nowhere. These massive 2019 protests, some got violent. Then, in those district council elections later that year, pro-democracy candidates won big. Beijing looked at
Of course
that
they
and decided
did,
to
because
squeeze
everybody wants the
harder.
ability
First,
to be able
the
to
National
choose.
Security Law, which basically stripped away Hong Kong's
To choose their
made it
path.
super easy to punish protesters. Dozens were arrested. Then November 2022.
And even if it's not complete choice, they still want to. The whole idea of democracy is that that every person, that every Joe, like me and Nero, they get a say. The whole idea behind it is that at the end of the day, we at least got a say in it. Which you could argue that this and that, but at the end of the day, that is still true. Like we all voted. Like you still get a voice.
threats to national
Can't say that
security
from
and
a lot of
Nearly
countries,
all
dude.
of Hong Kong's pro-democracy lawmakers resigned.
Especially
Yeah,
Iran.
too.
The aim of the CCP became crystal clear. Beijing is taking
America.
control of
Sorry, no, I'm
Taiwan.
recording a video right now.
They're demanding total loyalty. And
I know
democracy,
anything, man.
they're tearing it down.
Oh,
piece by
yeah?
piece. After reshaping
America.
the entire electoral system, China
Exactly,
held new elections in
exactly,
December of
Chad.
2025. And it was a disaster.
America.
The
Listen,
government
chat, in
knew they
America,
had a problem.
you can piss
This was
wherever
the-
you want. You can take a shit wherever you want. You can take a shit while holding your shotgun. You can wipe your ass with your shotgun. You can drink moonshine till you go blind.
You know, this is actually technically all true, and you know, you will get either fined or arrested for it, but you won't go to jail. That's what people don't understand. There's a fine distinction between getting arrested and just getting a fine. You know, them telling you, hey, dude, don't do that shit. You can't do that. You're disturbing the peace, and you know, giving you a ticket. You know, on your way. You know, you got locked up for a night or whatever, and then actually getting disappeared like the fucking CCP. Like everything that Nero said, you technically can do. Obviously, I would heavily advise against it, especially depending what state and, you know, town you live in, because, you know, they'll heavily depend on the gun laws and shit, but, you know.
Yo, chat, let me tell you something. There's an interview I want y'all to watch. It's with Nicholas Irving. He was in the army. He was stationed in
This is
Afghanistan.
going on YouTube, dude.
And he was talking about how niggas was butt fucking goats and it was super gay over there in Afghanistan.
Hey, yo. I mean, dude, if you want to see more crazy shit, there's like a video by YouTube channel that, like it was like a documentary. There's I forgot what country it is. I think it's in like, Pakistan or some shit. Apparently, it's like the gayest country on earth. Like, it's the most searched, like, gay porn country on earth. And, like, in the documentary, you literally have, like, fucking motherfuckers our age just admitting to raping little boys, you know, pulling up to this truck stop and intentionally just, you know, joining in to, like, you know, 50, 30 other men, you know, fucking raping this one little boy. And then, you know, they asked and interviewed the little boy, and, like, he actually confirmed, bro, it's crazy. Like, these motherfuckers just talk about it like it's just honky-dory. Like, yeah,
That sounds familiar to them.
I wanted him, so I took him. Like, what the bro?
Second Legco
I
election
wanted
with
that boy's
zero
butt, so that
pro-democracy
boy's butt is
opposition
what I got.
candidates after
Crazy,
that
dude.
2021 overhaul. So they went all out to get people to vote. Election posters plastered in every transit hub. Buses and trams covered in campaign ads rolling through the city. They extended voting hours from 14 to 16 hours. They even set up polling stations near the border for Hong Kong voters traveling from mainland China. On election day itself, they even tried bribing people to vote. If you cast a ballot,
Of course
you get a
they
thank
did.
you card. That card gives you
A
shopping
thank you
discounts,
card.
free seats at local draws, and free drinks from shops and
Oh, yeah?
restaurants. The government
Oh,
mobilized
yeah?
civil servants to show up at the polls. They asked
Oh,
business
yeah.
chambers to get companies to incentivize their employees to vote. The day before the election, they hosted a citywide election fun day with galas, carnivals, and open houses at government offices. But in the middle of CCP's propaganda, an event in November shook the world. The election happened just over a week after one of the deadliest fires in Hong Kong's history. On November 26th, 7 buildings and high-rise housing complexes went up in flames. At least 159 people died. Thousands were left homeless. The residents of Hong Kong did what any normal person would do. They mourned. They tried to make sense of what happened. They demanded an independent investigation and official accountability. What they got instead were smears and intimidation. A university student named Miles Kwan handed out flyers calling for an independent inquiry. The police detained him. He promoted an online petition with 4 demands for victim support and accountability. That was enough to get him arrested. Lawyers, social workers,
Of course it
and
was, because it's the
policy experts
CCP, dude.
planned a news
Like,
conference
bro,
to
we're talking about the same place that literally arrested and banned Winnie the Pooh because somebody made a meme and, you know, compared him to Xi Jinping.
What the fuck is Xi Jinping?
That's the fucking president's name, dude. You better chill, bro, before they arrest you for not knowing it.
Oh yeah, Xi Jinping. What is
Yeah,
Xi Jinping
bro.
gonna do to me?
Exactly.
Yeah, man, he just kidnapped me in my sleep. He
I
says, "Who?
mean,
You don't know about Xi Jinping?"
I
He just
mean,
take me.
you know, we have the luxury over here to joke about that, but actually, that actually did happen. And North Korea, the South Korean government got North Korea to admit to that. Like these
What is Xi
motherfuckers.
Jinping?
Well, no, Xi Jinping is different than North Korean. Like that. That's like, you know, the. I'm not gonna go into the whole spiel about how they're different, but basically, long story short, like back in, like, you know, I don't know if it was like the 1970s or 80s. I forgot what time period it was, but these motherfuckers literally used to like abduct South Koreans, Japanese, sometimes American kids, Like they would literally just, you know, pose as like tourists or, you know, random people over here, and then they would just kidnap people and then ship them back over there with the intent to, like, you know, learn about, like, you know, their enemies, you know, like Americans, and like brainwash like this individual and like teach them Korean and everything, and like force them to be like, you know, English translator teachers and all this nonsense. It was crazy. And then they killed a lot of them. And some of them got returned back to their families. A lot of the bodies are still like missing and haven't been accounted for. And the North Korean government refuses to like admit to those. They only like admitted to a couple of them. It's crazy, dude. You gotta look into this shit. If you want to look more into this, chat, I think you just type in on Google or YouTube, North Koreans kidnapping like Japanese kids, etc., and it'll come up.
The fire.
Yeah,
The organizer was summoned by the police, and the whole thing was canceled. A national security official toured the burned complex.
Be surprised,
then a government-affiliated newspaper
Be
publishing
surprised,
in Chile
bruh.
claimed that black-clad rioters, a reference to the 2019 pro-democracy protesters and pro-democracy supporters, were trying to hijack relief efforts for anti-government purposes. Beijing's national security branch warned, don't use the disaster to cause chaos in Hong Kong. Chief Executive John Lee was blunt. He said Hong Kong will not tolerate those who exploit the fatal fire and sabotage society's efforts to support victims. At least 3 people have been arrested for alleged sedition since the fire.
Alleged
Hong Kong's government warned
sedition.
against foreign forces, including anti-China media organizations, sowing discord and making malicious attacks and slanderous remarks. People affected by the fire became targets of the Get Out the Vote campaign. The government announced that social workers assigned to help fire victims would also help them find their polling places.
Finally, chat, I can go back to the fucking gym now. Oh my god.
No, you can't.
Notre Dame saw
Oh my
right
god,
through
dude, I
this.
just re-signed up for
do
my
a set of 50
Using this as a way
burpees.
to
I
monitor
just
residents
re-signed up for my
as they
gym,
start
chat.
organizing
Tomorrow is
opposition
the
to the
day
government
I am
over how the fire
breaking
was
the gym
handled.
equipment, dude.
Seems
As soon
they're
as I
trying to
step on
kill
that
2
treadmill,
birds with one
my
stone.
spiritual pressure
yo.
alone.
Days after
Dude,
the
as soon
fire,
as
the
I step
government
on that
issued a
treadmill, dude, and warm up, like that warm up
It's gonna
alone
break.
is gonna break like all the equipment, dude. Like my spiritual pressure alone. Like as soon as I step foot on that shit, on some Toji Fushiguro shit, like the treadmill itself and the ground under it's all gonna crack. You know, like in the animes.
Official warnings against spreading dissent. The message was clear. Even in tragedy, don't criticize the government. After all that effort, all those incentives, all that pressure, the turnout was just 31.9%.
Yeah.
Just barely higher than the
Figaro,
30.2% from
Figaro,
2021. From 1.35 million in 2021 to 1.32 million. If you compare that to 2026, a whopping
They managed to stop
48.3%
like
of people
3
voted,
million
or the
people from
2019
stopping
district council
voting.
elections,
Child, that's
which
crazy.
saw a record 71.2% turnout. Nearly 3 million voters.
The
showing
Chinese
up
government
to support
stopped 3 million people from voting, basically like forcing them, like telling them, "Hey, dude, we'll fucking kill you if you keep voting." That's crazy.
Yes, sir.
Dude. That's
you love
crazy.
communism, nigga.
Hell no, you crazy, Chad? Yeah, it's good. Hell no, I like my democracy, dude. I like my shotguns
No,
and
nigga.
Pop Tarts. I
No
like
more
my
democracy, nigga.
fuck that, dude. I like my shotguns and Doritos Locos Tacos
the
Supreme.
pro-democracy movement. The low turnout sent a message.
America,
People
motherfucker.
weren't buying what Beijing was selling. In October, a bunch of older, established pro-Beijing politicians suddenly announced they wouldn't run again. Who's replacing them? Younger candidates with deep political and financial ties to mainland China. John
Nigga.
Burns,
Course.
emeritus professor of
Nigga.
politics at Hong Kong University, pointed this out. Beijing
my
wasn't just
nigga.
controlling the system. They were
My
replacing the
nigga.
old guard with people even more loyal to
nigga.
the mainland.
My-
The
That's
elections were
crazy.
designed for pro-establishment candidates to win.
Well, I gotta
They
tell
did.
you
But
something
the
in
real
a
story
bit
was
now,
in the
but it has
empty
nothing to
polling
do with this video,
stations.
so I
It was
just gotta
the
wait.
propaganda that was failing,
Okay.
especially after the fire.
Nigga.
The CCP
It's only
tried
10
really
minutes
hard.
left.
China's National Security Office summoned multiple foreign media outlets and criticized
Nigato,
their coverage of the fire.
nigato,
They
nigato,
warned them
nigato,
not to spread
nigato,
false
nigato,
information
nigato,
or
nigato,
smear
nigato,
government
nigato,
efforts.
nigato,
This appeared to be the
nigato,
first time
nigato,
foreign
nigato.
media were gathered to face criticism for covering a specific event. For context,
Oh, this is what I'm saying, chat. They've always done this. Like even what was that? Like they got like Animal Crossing banned. That guy, I'm pretty sure, I forgot what gaming tournament it was. I don't know if it was like Pokemon or CS:GO or Valorant. I don't know what it was. You guys could fact check me on this as to what game it was, but I know it was like a gaming tournament where this Chinese protester used, you know, like him winning in the tournament as like a way to be able to like spread awareness, and like he tried, you know, oops, sorry about that. Sorry about that. He tried, you know, protesting and using his, you know, the like that win and like his spotlight in the win to like, you know, protest against the CCP and what they were doing at the time. And yeah, the CCP basically got that organization to withhold his payment. They didn't pay him. They like shut down the internet or so. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Hong Kong now
Yes,
rates
sir.
140th
No
out of
freedom of
180
speech. We love
countries
it,
in
nigga.
the World Press
Hell no,
Freedom
hell no.
Index, compiled by Reporters Without Borders. The authorities were scrambling to contain public anger over the blaze. Investigations revealed poor oversight, and shoddy materials used in renovation caused the fire's devastating spread. But instead of addressing these failures, they went after anyone asking questions. This playbook isn't new for Beijing. It's built
100%.
on one assumption. Gatherings triggered by tragedy might turn into collective action, and they're not wrong to worry. The democracy demonstrations in Tiananmen began with public mourning, but when everything felt lost, people still looked to one man who was standing between Hong Kong's democracy and the CCP's knife. They call this Avenger Jimmy Lai. He arrived in Hong
This
Kong as a 12-year-old
Avenger.
refugee from mainland China, a penniless stowaway on a boat. He built a fortune and became a self-made billionaire. He founded Apple Daily, a fiercely pro-democracy
Apple
tabloid
Daily.
newspaper known for its blistering attacks against the Chinese Communist Party. Critics found it sensationalist, but millions read it. Lai's involvement in democratic causes began after the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989. Through his newspapers, he backed the millions of Hong Kongers who
Nigger.
marched for democracy in 2014. And again in 2019.
Yeah, it's good.
He himself took to the streets during the more
Don't
peaceful
worry, Chad, I'm
protests.
black.
Although he's a UK citizen, he refused to leave. He always said that he owed
UK
Hong Kong
citizen.
and wanted the city to keep
He's a
the
UK
freedom it had
citizen.
given him. That's what drove
Tingle
his
scrap.
politics. Fiercely
Diddly
critical
pop
of the
pop.
Communist Party and an avid supporter of Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement. But his struggle cost him.
Of course
his
he
own
was, 'cause he
freedom.
knows
On
the
a
life
winter
in-
morning
in the UK.
2022, Raphael Wong and Figo Chan walked into Hong Kong's Stanley Prison to meet Lai. Yes, you heard that right. He was arrested. Decades apart, Lai in his 70s and Wong and Chan about 40 years
Hey,
younger,
yeah.
they had all been a part of the turbulent 2019 protests when hundreds of thousands demanded democracy. They had all dreamed of a different Hong Kong. Jimmy Lai has been in jail since 2020. On December 15th, 2025, 3 national security judges found Lai guilty of collusion with foreign forces and sedition. The 78-year-old didn't seem surprised when the verdict was read out. The conviction of billionaire media tycoon Jimmy Lai. This was the last nail in the coffin of Hong Kong's democracy. Lai had been held for almost 5 years, mostly in solitary confinement, for more than 1,800 days in a maximum security prison. The judges were doing precisely what they were handpicked to do, ignoring the evidence and use this political show trial to convict him. Lai had been suffering from diabetes and now faces life in prison. His family fears he will die behind bars. The trial itself was remarkable. Lai spent 156 days on trial, 52 of them on the witness stand. He had pleaded not guilty to all charges. Few believed he would be acquitted. National security trials have a conviction rate of over 95% in Hong Kong.
Like
Throughout his trial, prosecutors accused Lai of using Apple Daily to call for sanctions against China. The judges wrote an 855-page ruling. They said Lai's
Wake
intent was
me
to
up.
seek the downfall of the
Eat
Communist
my
Party.
ass
They used Apple
inside.
Daily to make Hong Kong's people view the government with hatred and contempt. They said that there was no doubt that Lai had harbored his resentment and hatred of the PRC for many of his adult years. He affiliated himself with Western values. Even his newspaper was forced to close in 2021, almost a year after Lai was arrested. What was the evidence of this terrible crime? A vocal supporter of Trump, Lai traveled to Washington at the height of the protests and met with then Vice President Mike Pence and then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He attempted to meet Trump himself. The judges pointed to these meetings, much of it before the security law was even enacted, as evidence of sedition and collusion with foreign forces. They also cited his WhatsApp messages with other pro-democracy activists and Apple Daily leaders. And a New York Times opinion piece he wrote in May 2022, where he suggested punishing China for its repression by revoking student visas for the children of government officials. In 2022,
course.
he was already sentenced to 5
Why not?
years and 9 months in prison on unrelated fraud
Like, what's
charges.
next? You're gonna take away their food, dude? Jesus Christ.
Expect mainland China to demand Hong Kong throw the book at him, as a warning to anyone who would dare advocate for democracy. But the verdict drew condemnation from supporters and foreign leaders worldwide, including U.S. President Donald Trump, who had once
Donnie
vowed to
J.
get him out. Authorities in Hong Kong will hope the world moves on quickly, but Lai will remain a symbol of the city's transformation for many. Now he'll be remembered by his supporters as a martyr to his convictions. Lai is the most prominent victim, but far from the only one. Since China enacted its national security law in 2020, Beijing has used it like a sledgehammer to decimate the city's pro-democracy movement. Jimmy Lai's convictions shows just how much Hong Kong's courts have changed. The judiciary used to be genuinely independent. That's what gave the city its international credibility, but the national security law has basically torn that apart. Under Article 44, the chief executive gets to pick which judges handle national security cases. So when someone's on trial for these political charges, the government is literally choosing who decides the outcome. And it's not just about who's judging. The Secretary for Justice can throw out juries completely. They'll say it's to protect state secrets or keep jurors safe. That's exactly what happened with Jimmy Lai and those 47 pro-democracy activists. Instead of a jury of regular people, you get 3 judges handpicked by the government making the call. The bail system has been turned upside down, too. You have to convince the court you won't commit more acts endangering national security, which is basically impossible to prove. That's why so many activists have been sitting in jail for years before the trials even start. Every piece of this points to the same thing. The executive branch now runs the show in what's supposed to be an independent judicial process. The CCP became so intoxicated by power, it didn't just crush democracy, it murdered humanity along with it. For more than 3 decades, the party has treated spontaneous civic activity after disasters as a potential political threat. The sequence is always the same. Tightly control the narrative, strike early at anyone who speaks out, and choose overreaction over caution. For Beijing, disaster is never just disaster. It's a potential crisis, a spark that must be extinguished before it becomes a firestorm. Look at the pattern.
Oh, man.
After a 2008 Sichuan earthquake killed thousands of school children, parents and activists questioned why school buildings collapsed while
What
government
the hell? Thousands of school children? Damn.
What happened?
Oh man, dude, did this happen in America, chat? Holy crap, bro.
What happened?
You better believe that these motherfuckers would have overthrown the government. Be like, we're not just gonna let thousands of fucking kids get, squashed in an earthquake and die because the government didn't want to, actually build good infrastructure in the buildings. Like, bruh, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Intact. They were detained, surveilled, or silenced. Independent investigations by lawyers, volunteers, and intellectuals like artist Ai Weiwei were suppressed. This sent a clear message that private grief was allowed, organized grief was not. A high-speed rail crash in 2022, the sinking of a cruise ship in 2015, a port explosion in Taijin that killed 173 people. In 2022, they censored online grief after a bus full of people heading into COVID quarantine crashed.
Damn.
Then again after a deadly fire in an apartment during lockdown.
I saw that one. Yeah. That deadly fire during the lockdown chat. I actually saw that during like live time, like real time. But that was crazy, and they just like refused to let the fire people there because of COVID. Everything was blocked off. Oh, it was so bad, and everybody was on a lockdown. And it's not like lockdown over here, chat, where you could just, they tell you to be on lockdown, and then it's up to you to lock yourself down, blah, blah, blah. The most they could do is just give you a fine for being out on the street or some shit. Nah, dude, over there, they literally barricade you in. Like, especially if, like, you're, like, your street or, specifically, like, basically, like, if anybody around, like, within your vicinity, within, like, a certain mile radius is known to actually have COVID and there's, like, an outbreak in your area or some shit, they will actually lock you in your house. Like, they will not allow you to leave your house. It's crazy. Not even for, like, medical stuff. Like, you have to, like, go through, like, due process before that. Like, that's crazy.
They're gonna burglar that boy.
During lockdown. Every single time, attempts by families, citizens, or journalists to seek truth, mourn publicly, or demand accountability are treated as political dangers. But the saddest part is that the last hope of democracy in Hong Kong has also just died. Hong Kong's oldest and largest pro-democracy political party is shutting down. After 31 years, the Democratic Party is dissolving. Fred Li, a former lawmaker, said a Chinese official told him the party should not remain until the end of this year when an election will be held. The message was clear: disband or face consequences. Founded by liberal lawyers and academics 3 years before Hong Kong's 1997 handover to China, the Democratic Party campaigned for universal suffrage, labor rights, and conservation during a time when you could actually discuss these issues openly. They were seen as moderates willing to work with Beijing. Party leaders held significant voting power in the legislature and were regularly given space to critique local government policy. All that changed after the 2019 protests. In 2025, Democratic Party Chairman Lo Kung-hei held a news conference. Nearly 100 people attended the 2-hour meeting. Of the 121 votes cast, 117, that's 97%, favored dissolving the party. The other 4 were blank ballots. Eric Lai, a research fellow at the Georgetown Center for Asian Law, said bluntly that This shows there are no more feasible ways for groups to exist as an opposition party. After Hong Kong's return to Chinese rule, the Democrats held more seats than any other party in the mostly pro-Beijing legislature until 2004.
Pro-Beijing?
Party leaders were the figureheads of major demonstrations, including the annual June 4th vigil commemorating the Tiananmen Square massacre and the pro-democracy march every July. Neither event would be permitted in mainland China, and both are now effectively banned in Hong Kong. But support collapsed in 2010 when leaders of Hong Kong's Democratic Party secretly negotiated with Beijing's liaison office, the CCP's official arm in Hong Kong, about how elections would work. Other pro-democracy groups saw this as a betrayal. Then in 2014, a new generation of activists emerged during months-long protests, pushing the party further to the sidelines. In recent years, they tried to survive as a civic group, but couldn't raise funds. Multiple private venues kept canceling their events at the last minute. The party will donate its remaining assets to the Association for the Rights of Industrial Accident Victims, a group that fights for workers injured on the job. Low declined to reveal the amount. But the Democratic Party wasn't the only one to fall. The League of Social Democrats, the LSD, announced its disbandment in a Facebook post, citing immense political pressure. Their statement was heartbreaking. "We leave with heavy hearts, with an ache in our conscience, knowing we will not be the last to fall. Even as we step aside, we stand with those still struggling in the shadows." Founded in 2006, the LSD advocated for grassroots causes and demanded greater democracy. As recently as May 1st, they were calling for stronger protections for workers. Former lawmaker and LSD founder Leung Kwok-hung was among the 45 ex-activists sentenced in November using the 2020 National Security Law. Leung, 69, received 6 years and 9 months for his role in unofficial primary polls seen as an attempt to paralyze the government. Since Beijing's crackdown began, almost 100 civil and pro-democracy organizations in Hong Kong have collapsed. The Civic Party wound up in 2023. Only one pro-democracy party remains, the Hong Kong Association for Democracy and People's Livelihood, which focuses on social issues and urges residents to vote under the revamped electoral system. Hong Kong has turned into a major flashpoint between China and the West. The US has already slapped sanctions on 42 Chinese and Hong Kong officials over policies that undermine the city's autonomy. The UK went even further in its recent report, formally declaring that China is in ongoing breach of the Sino-British Joint Declaration, the treaty that was supposed to protect Hong Kong's way of life. Things like Jimmy Lai's conviction and Beijing blocking UK's parliamentarians from entering Hong Kong have seriously damaged the city's image as an open international hub. The G7 and the EU keep calling for political prisoners to be released and the national security law to be scrapped, but Beijing just dismisses it all as interference with their internal affairs. What's happening in Hong Kong is sending shockwaves beyond the city itself. Taiwan is watching closely. Their Mainland Affairs Council pointed to Hong Kong's situation as proof that the one country, two systems model simply can't coexist with democracy. President Lai Ching-te has been pretty direct about this. He sees Jimmy Lai's conviction and the crackdown on dissent as Beijing's way of showing what they're willing to do across the entire region. Jimmy Lai's life sentence isn't just about one man or one trial. It's a turning point that shows how far things have shifted.
Yeah, I'm seeing like a common theme, chat, where you know, all these countries that are under communist regime rule, you know, they all want democratic shit. They want to be like, you know, fucking free. They want to be chilling, doing whatever they want. Oh man, you love to see it though. Which is crazy, because all these liberals over here, they be having, you know, some crazy point of view, you know, where they actually want this crap, chat. They actually want communism. It's insane. Anyways, you know, hopefully you guys like this. You know, make sure to give those two guys a like and comment and subscribe. And, yeah, hopefully, Iran, you know, Iran, you got this, dude. Anyways, stay safe out there, and peace.